Shabbat Shalom, everybody. This is Rob Shmuel with you, Rabbi Stephen Epstein, Rob Shmuel ben Yehoshua Rashbi with you with this week's Torah portion. So before I forget, make sure you reset your clocks this Sunday. We start daylight savings time. I'm not going to go into my feelings about daylight savings time because it's not appropriate. But there it is. Okay, so we lose an hour. Remember, spring forward, fall back, push your clocks, get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and set all your clocks to 3 o'clock and then go back to bed. I'm sure we all do that, don't we? Okay. Okay, so this week we finish the book of Exodus with a double portion. Yes, you get two for one. Two portions for the price of one, Vayakhel and Pekudei, and that closes up the book of Exodus. Now, before we talk about this week's portion, I would be remiss if not discussing what's going on in the world. And as I've stated before, as most of you know, I do my best to stay away from politics. However, here's the but, okay? Um, this is a very important situation that's going on. The people of Iran are gaining freedom for the first time in 47 years under the rule of an oppressive theological, not necessarily religious, theological. Religious means we believe in religion, we believe in the tenets of religion, and we do our best to apply them to our daily life. Love one another, love one's fellow as oneself, honor the stranger, things like that. Theocracy is, or maybe I said theology, but theocracy is a rule by a religious body, which means ultimately you're doing your best to take religious principles and apply us to the rule of the land, which most countries do anyway. I mean, let's face it, don't steal, don't murder. Okay, it's found in the tenets of just about every religion on earth. But there are certain other repressive tenets. Now, is it the actual tenet or is it actually the interpretation of it? Either way, when you take away people's rights, okay, as a Jew, we believe in freedom. The book of Exodus, we're concluding that, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, is all about freedom. Judaism is all about allowing people to fulfill themselves and live in harmony with each other and not interfere with other people. Some of our tenets involve that. Okay, the last five of the Ten Commandments: don't steal, don't murder, don't commit adultery, don't want what your neighbor has, don't gossip, don't intrude on their integrity, on their good name. Then there's such things like don't move your neighbor's boundary to give yourself an advantage, things like that. So Judaism is all about that. So we want people to be free. Now, again, there's a lot of political issues about this, but the bottom line is, we want to see people be free. We don't want people to lose their lives, but when you have one group of people repressing another, well, sometimes you have to resort to whatever. That's what the book of Exodus is about. Let's look at the book of Exodus and see if we could tie this in, especially with the idea of Purim, where we had a person who was in charge or was in a political, who was a political minister during the period between the first and second temples, when our ancestors, the Jews, were in exile in Babylonia, tried to eliminate us as a people. And this is sort of the connection between Purim and Hanukkah, which is why there is an addition when we're doing the Amidah, the Tefillah, and it's in during the time of Modima Nachnu, no, we thank you for the miracles, because in Purim we had Haman, okay, get those groggers out, trying to eliminate us, try to kill us as a people, as opposed to Hanukkah, where they try to destroy us as a religion, as a heritage, desecrating the temple and such. So there's that connection between those two festivals. The book of Exodus, the book of Shemot names, in a sense, traces us going from an oppressed people, right? Our ancestors moved to Egypt to take advantage of the plentifulness that was going on there, the fact that one of our ancestors basically saved the world by controlling for the famine that was to come. And over the certain amount of years, over about 100 years or so, we grew as a people in number and arose a pharaoh who not knew Joseph, a new dynasty, so as some people believe, that saw Israel as a threat, or saw the fact, or became very xenophobic and used this to contain and accentuate his power, and enslaved us, put us into bondage. Figured he would work us to death. A succession of pharaohs, I think, depend on who you read, two or three of the pharaohs, kept this bondage going on until God intervened. And God intervened, let's face it, with a lot of aggression, right? I mean, a lot of the plagues had to do with destroying what the Egyptians had worked for, the blood of the Nile River, wiping out the crops, right? With the hail, wiping out their cattle and their herds in the animal disease, and finally the killing of the firstborn. Very similar in a way with what's going on right now in the Middle East. It's a war. So basically, at the end of this, we know that Pharaoh relented, and our people, 2+ million of them, left Egypt and went into the wilderness and gained a legacy. All right. We gained the Ten Commandments, all right, the bedrock of how to behave as a people and interact with our fellows. We had a series of, excuse me, commandments, mitzvot, that talked about how to interact with each other, how to treat people on the lowest rungs of society, the slaves, how to observe the Sabbath. Okay, don't cook a kid in its mother's milk, about the beginning of some of the dietary laws, about respecting a person's space, boundaries and things like that. Then we had the building of the Mishkan, which was the temple, the mobile temple that was in the wilderness, and designing the furniture that went into it, the menorah, the table for the bread, the wash basin at the outset, the two altars, one for the offering, one for the incense. Then we had making the clothes for the high priest and the other priests. So we had those commandments. Now, I have been at odds with myself trying to figure out these last two portions, because we've had previously, we've had the instructions as to how to build all of these things and how to weave the clothes. Then we have the two portions at the end, which talks about them actually being done by Belzalab of the tribe of Judah and Aholiab of the tribe of Dan, actually completing it. And it always kind of confounded me as to why two sets of parshas that talk about the instructions and then to do it. Well, I've kind of come to terms with that, and let's see if you agree with me on this, that we had the instructions, then we had the completion. And again, the idea is to go from the beginning of the book of Exodus to an enslaved, oppressed people. To the end of Exodus, we are now free and we have our own legacy and our heritage. So it traces all that. And these last two portions are meant to highlight the fact that it got done. The fact that, yeah, here it is. We have had the instructions, we've carried them out, and now we are functioning as a full-fledged people with a legacy. Now, of course, who was Israel? Israel was ultimately the Hebrews, the Haberu tribe, or the Ivris, right, from the other side. We had our patriarchs in the book of Genesis who were fruitful and multiplied, and 70 souls went down to Egypt. And now we've got 2+ million people as we've grown as a people, not just in number, but also in legacy, in heritage, in ethics, in morality, getting this code of how to behave with people. So thus we have the completion of the Mishkan and its furniture and the clothes of the priests who will act as intermediaries, act as we approach Hashem, acting between us and God. And it shows that here it is. See, we've done it. We've done it. And now we go into the book of Leviticus, and it tells us more about the laws and the officiating of the ministers and the priests. Okay. So with the completion of a book of the Torah, we say chazak, chazak, v'nitchazek, be strong, and may your strength be strong. May it be resolute. May you continue with that strength, even in the most trying times, as we've done as a people, as we are doing now. With this war going on in the Middle East, okay, we are being challenged by people that blame us for everything. Okay, if we succeed, we have an advantage. If we don't succeed, it's because whatever, we're just trying to live off people. So we are ourselves. We've learned to be ourselves. We've learned to survive, and we've learned to thrive. And we need to carry that legacy. And what is the strength behind that legacy? What is the chazak? It is the fact that we adhere to this code, to this Torah. So may you have a good Shabbat. I hope your Purim was great. And we will see you next time. As always, thank you so much for listening.